My name is Molly Fisk, and I am the, how do we say this, the inaugural Nevada County Poet Laureate Emerita, which means that I was the first one and I'm done. My term was 2017 to 2019. The second poet laureate was Chris Olander, whose term is ending in about a week. And if you would like to nominate a new poet laureate, the deadline is April 15th, and you go to the Nevada County Arts Council.org page, and there will be information and a form there. And the more people who nominate, the better off we are, because it's all about choices and good poetry and whatnot. I'm going to read you from 3 different books today. One of them, when I was Poet Laureate of Nevada County, I received a big grant from the Academy of American Poets to do a project related to whatever I proposed. And what I proposed was a climate crisis anthology, which we made, called California Fire and Water. It's available at all the local bookstores in the library. And it's poems by 145 Californians. We sent teachers into 50 schools all over the state and helped the kids write about climate crisis, in particular wildfire, because it was such a bad 2 years for wildfires. Then we put those together with adult poems. And this has proved to be here's the cover again, a very useful thing to show people who don't know what it's like here in California, who haven't been around this kind of crisis. Everyone has been saying, first of all, the book gives them solace as well as information about how bad it can be. And second of all, it really helps people who only see news clips to understand the details, the deeper information about what happens, how long things go on, how long the effects of this are lasting, what the worry is that builds up over the course of a winter, and then we head into, like this year, a drought-laden summer. I'm sorry to say, unless we have some amazing storms in April, which no one is saying we're going to. So, California Fire and Water, a climate crisis anthology. And I'll read you my poem from here, which is called Particulate Matter, and which I wrote about 3 weeks after the campfire took place here in our general neighborhood. Particulate matter. If all you counted were tires on the cars left in driveways and stranded beside the road, melted dashboards and taillights, oil pans, window glass, seatbelt clasps, the propane tanks in everyone's yards, though we didn't hear them explode, R13 insulation, paint inside and out, the liquor store's plastic letters in puddled colors below their charred sign, each man-made sole of every shoe in all those closets, the laundromat's washers' round metal doors. But then Arco, Safeway, Walgreens, the library, everything they contained. How many miles of electrical wire and PVC pipe swirling into the once blue sky? How many linoleum acres? Not to mention the valley oaks, the ponderosas, all the wild hearts and all the tame, their bark and leaves and hooves and hair and bones, their final cries, and our neighbors, so many particular, precious, irreplaceable lives that despite ourselves, we're inhaling. I'd like to read you some poems from my first book called Listening to Winter. It looks like this. And the cover is a picture of Mount Vision in Point Reyes National Seashore, a place that I used to live near and climb around in all the time. Hunter's Moon. Early December, dusk, and the sky slips down the rungs of its blue ladder into indigo. A late quarter moon hangs above the ridge like a broken plate and shines on us all, on the new deputy almost asleep in his 4x4, lulled by the crackling song of the dispatcher, On the bartender, slowly wiping a glass and racking it, one eye checking the game. It shines down on the fox's red and gray life as he stills, a shadow beside someone's gate, listening to winter. Its pale gaze caresses the lovers, curled together under a quilt, dreaming alone, and shines on the scattered ashes of terrible fires, on the owl's black flight, on the whelks, on the murmuring kelp, on the whale that washed up 6 weeks ago at the base of the dunes, and it shines on the backhoe that buried her. Jupiter. I wake up at 4 with the bright white beads of a headache strung behind my eyes, shifting and clicking, an abacus counting out sorrows. Click, I am alone. Click, I haven't had children yet. Will anyone know me or love me? Regret. All morning I count change into the outstretched hands of strangers, as if I were spilling the letters of my name into their open palms, expecting a flicker of recognition. I bag their maps and books, give half a smile, directions. I wonder when my life will turn out. Where's the assurance we had as kids, when things made sense, and dinner time always came at dusk, a call from the porch, the pale globes of wiffle balls glowing like moons at the lawn's shadowy edge. Outside the windows it's black and cool for August. Sagittarius chases the scorpion slowly across the southern sky. In Latin, the word for planet is wanderer. Jupiter pulls at the end of his orbit, invisibly leashed to the sun. But from here, it looks like he's weaving, drunk, among the mythical pictures. Hunter, bears, dog, virgin, drawn by people already centuries dead. Night after night I watch him roam, and in every American town there are others lying flat-backed in wheat fields and ballparks, empty lots, or leaning against a window like this with a glass still half full of water, aspirin swallowed, foreheads pressed to the dark. I'd like to dedicate this next poem to all the waitresses and waiters and baristas. Are there male baristas or are they baristos? The people who make all the coffee that we drink in this town and in this county. Because once you have been in that profession, you never recover. Sugar and salt. Afterwards, you're never the same. You leave larger tips than you can really afford, remembering the tired feet, pantyhose stripped down over knees and calves so sore that massaging them, collapsed on the edge of your unmade bed, didn't help. Living from week to week on crumpled dollars stuffed in a bureau drawer. Greasy film on your hair and skin, clothes stained with coffee. You instinctively wipe the tables at McDonald's before you get up to go. In busy cafes, you stack the finished dishes to one side, return the busboy's harried smile, admire some smooth choreography behind the counter. You never spill salt or aimlessly tear at colored packets of sugar, waiting for this or that lover to find his way back from the bathroom of a diner. Your face shines with a recognizable patience. The flung fork picked up from the floor, stray spoons retrieved from between the seats. It's automatic, a habit you barely realize. First to get up, reaching for napkins, pulling the heated bread out of the oven. You wipe the drop of soup from the bowl's lip before setting it down in front of your son or your mother. And in those crowded rooms, Thanksgiving or a family wedding, the soft call of your elbows crease, confident, aching again for the balanced plate. Surrender. Surrender. When the truth came to me, slipped into my house in its white robes, its face open as my face, its heart obvious and trusting, I stood calmly in the front hall and did not move to bar the door. When the truth laid its cool hand on my sleeve and said, "Come with me, it's time," I went quietly. She led me into the past, through the backyards I once knew, bedrooms and kitchens. We sat in my father's car and talked. I was shivering in my thin skin and crying readily by this time, terrified, furious. She offered her own consolation, no false pats on the hand and no shoulder to lean on. I had to learn to stand upright or bend on my own. In her clear voice, the truth offered all she has to give us, herself, and the stern comfort of belonging to this world. This is the poem that closes the book, and it's people have thought it was possibly about my parents, but that is not the case. It's about my grandparents. At a certain point, you get to an age where younger people don't quite understand how old anybody actually is. It's kind of fun, actually. The dry tortugas. And I don't know if you recall, but the dry tortugas are that little end of the spine of the Florida Keys. They were building a house in the dry tortugas, less for the solitude there than the open eyes of a swallow-tailed hummingbird they had seen once on a fishing trip, the early 50s, he reeling in an oversized yellowfin, Humphrey Bogart facing the wind, one foot on the rail into have and have not. She whistling the stuttered call of the Amazonian kingfisher and singing in Spanish to flocks of Bonaparte gulls. It comes to nothing in the end, though the land is paced off and measured, and 2 palms felled to expand the view. The road graded the requisite mile, and some of their friends fly down from New York to surprise them, circle the islands all morning, gleeful and chic in their 4-seater Cessna. He's something exalted at chase. And later the bottles of Myers and Appleton Gold sweat dark rings on the terrace flagstones, and someone's pink lipstick makes delicate kiss prints along the rim of her glass. No one has told me what happened. His heart attack in Guatemala, her premonition about that wide and empty view, or the world swinging in with its usual brazen distractions. But they framed the architect's plans of the house, and this is what I inherit, a rendering in colored pencil, what they were dreaming before I was born. These next poems are from my second book, The More Difficult Beauty, which is very Nevada County. The photograph is by Steve Selinsky, and the cover design is by Leanne Brooke, both local, very well-known local artists. I just went and lost it. There we go. Unwrapping the last French menstrual napkin. It has a slim silhouette and little wings that wrap around the crotch. The pad is quilted into diamonds, the paper backing easy to peel off, and the color a faded rosy peach, as elegant as any feminine so-called hygiene product I have ever seen. The last of 14 serviettes I bought in a pharmacy in Paris a month ago, hoping to find what I needed and not have to use my high school French to describe. I am almost 50. This is the 457th period I've entertained, excluding the one I missed before the abortion in April 1984. That child would turn 20 next November, and how much I wish I had kept it now that I have no others. All those dropped eggs, flushed with their hopeful, rejuvenating uterine linings, and only a few left to make the passage. Tiny raisins now, the once plump grapes that swelled inside my mother as she swam in her mother's womb. And all for nothing, the last of a daughterless, motherless woman, one who is unmarried and today feeling horribly sorry for herself, but who recently has been to France. American Riddle. When you can't figure out how to stop the war in Iraq, much less how to make enough money to pay your mortgage, moving the $180 from savings back into your checking account as if that will help. When it's all you can do to acknowledge the actual world and not lose yourself half the afternoon in People magazine, where the movie stars twirl like frosted cakes in a glass case at the Old Lady Baltimore Bakery on Throckmorton, before your hometown became so chic none of the kids from your high school could afford to live there. When you're so tired of reinventing yourself, you want to lie down on the road, right on the double yellow line in front of your driveway, exactly where 2 of your cats have been killed, and wait for someone to run you over. But with your luck, you'd probably just lose an arm, no doubt the right one, so you'd have to relearn holding the pencil against the page at the proper angle, and your sweater's sleeves would need to be hemmed to cover the stump. And then you'd really have something to complain about, as well as something in common with soldiers back from the Middle East, who left a precious part of themselves behind, which is where this poem begins and ends. How the hell are we going to stop the cavalier waste? How are we going to apologize?